Welcome to A Region of Solutions, the ESCAP podcast where we explore practical ideas and innovation shaping sustainable development across Asia and the Pacific. In today's episode, we look up quite literally into space. Space applications, once seen as the domain of a few advanced nations, are now becoming more accessible and more relevant to our daily lives. Today, the space economy in our region is more vibrant than ever, with new actors from established spacefaring nations to emerging space agencies contributing to solutions that benefit us all. To explore this exciting field, we are joined by three distinguished guests: Kareff Rafisura from ESCAP's ICT and Disaster Risk Reduction Division, Orbita Roswintiarti, a senior researcher from Indonesia's National Research and Innovation Agency BRIN, and Ismoil Rasulov, Head of Innovations and Technology Transfer at the Uzbekspace Agency and one of the region's most promising young space leaders. Together, we'll discuss how space is being used for sustainable development. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Kareff, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? What first inspired you to focus on geospatial applications for development?
So for almost half my life, to be clear, that's about 20 years, I've been studying and working in climate risk management, starting with my graduate studies and continuing through my professional career. I've had the opportunity to live and work in several countries in Asia and also briefly in West Africa. Anywhere I go, I've seen firsthand how the lack of timely and reliable data can really hold back life-saving decisions. I've had countless conversations with farmers who wish they had better information before planting to avoid damage and losses, and also with policymakers who felt that historical data was not strong enough to justify additional investments in disaster risk reduction. Coming from a climate vulnerable country myself, these gaps in data and decision making are really not just professional concerns for me, they are deeply personal. So, when I was wrapping up my assignment in Myanmar about 4 years ago, the opportunity to work dedicated on space applications in ESCAP came up. I embraced it. I was and still I'm really motivated to transform the potential of space-derived data to address real-world challenges.
And Orbita, your work as a scientist specialized in remote sensing must also be quite interesting. How did you get into the field?
So previously, I worked at Lapan for about 35 years as a researcher and also structural official, specializing in satellite remote sensing application for monitoring and modeling environmental and natural resources. And until now, when I work with BRIN.
And Ismoil, you've been dubbed as a young space leader. So tell us a little bit more on your background and work in this area.
Kavita. I'm really excited to be part of this discussion. So my journey has always been about connecting science, technology, and international cooperation. And I joined the Uzbekspace Agency in 2021. In my role, I focus on building partnerships and turning advanced space technologies into something that makes a real difference for people on the ground. For me, space is not only about satellites and rockets. It's about using innovation to improve daily life and support communities.
And I think you have some interesting work that you're doing daily. I had to ask though, many people think of space as something distant or unrelated to daily life. How are space applications already shaping the way people in Asia and the Pacific live and work today?
So you are right, Kavita. Space is really not just about rockets, spacecraft, or going to Mars. If you've checked the weather forecast before heading out this morning, or use the GPS to find a new restaurant, or perhaps connected to Wi-Fi on a flight, you've already interacted with space technology. So these everyday applications are powered by different types of satellites. I will speak a little bit about this just to set in context the types of applications that we work on at ESCAP. So different types of satellites serve different purposes. We have weather satellites that help us track and forecast tropical cyclones, communication satellites, which enable internet access in remote areas, for example, or support mobile networks, or even allow us to stay connected during flights. There are also navigation satellites like those in the GPS constellation, which guide everything from ride hailing apps to shipping routes and even the practice of precision agriculture. At ESCAP, our work centers on the application of data coming from Earth observation satellites. The applications that are commonly used are related to monitoring land use, the health of forest ecosystems, water resources, crop health, and we even have examples of applications related to socioeconomic, such as the understanding of poverty distribution in urban areas. So, space applications are really deeply integrated into our lives, much more than we realize. And our team at ESCAP, we publish a compendium of around 100 practices or so every 2 years to promote and inspire these practices and support replication where appropriate.
Since we are a big country, first is to monitor the land cover land use, detecting natural disaster, and managing natural resources. The second is for monitoring environmental changes, tracking deforestation, and detecting pollution. The third is for monitoring maritime activities, detecting illegal fishing and tracking vessel movement and oil spills. Fourth, the remote sensing and Earth observation satellites are also supporting Indonesia's digital economy and blue-green economy initiatives by providing data to support sustainable development, monitor marine resources, and track uh, climate change. These satellites are also providing continuous data, not only in remote and rural areas, but also in urban areas in Indonesia.
So in Uzbekistan, one of the most important projects that we are now doing together with UNESCAP is using satellites to monitor soil salinity. This is critical because farmers can now detect when the soil is losing fertility and take actions in time. It has a direct impact on crop yields and family incomes. And on top of that, we are also working on a national state space monitoring program focused on the practical applications in agriculture, water management, urban planning, ecology, geology. So step by step, space is becoming less a distant dream and more of a practical tool for our everyday life in Uzbekistan.
And of course, we are seeing a lot more regional cooperation in this area. Raf, could you share some highlights of ESCAP's Regional Space Applications Program, which has been ongoing for the last 3 decades? And what are some of the achievements, the successes, and why does it remain unique among UN initiatives?
So, the Regional Space Applications Program, or RESAP, is indeed one of the most enduring United Nations program on space. The program has pioneered a democratization of access to space-derived data and tools. From my perspective, what really makes the program unique is its focus on leveraging regional cooperation, bringing together governments, academia, technical institutions, and other players to empower countries to benefit from space science, technology, and their applications. I'm not sure if I can possibly do justice to summarize 3 decades of RESAP's achievements, but if I may, I would love to highlight some milestones that demonstrate the tangible benefits of regional cooperation under RESAP. So one is through RESAP, dozens of disaster-affected countries were able to access satellite data and products quickly and at no cost, enabling them to make life-saving decisions. Upon request by the disaster-affected country, the RESAP network is mobilized to deliver near real-time assessment through making available satellite images to inform disaster response and impact assessment. If I may give a recent example, you might heard about the state of emergency, which was declared by the Federated States of Micronesia due to an oil spill in its waters, which really poses a serious risk to its marine and territorial ecosystems. Our spacefaring members were mobilized to provide SAR or synthetic aperture radar data to support monitoring, impact assessment, and containment efforts. But just to be clear, RESAP goes beyond making data available. We work with countries and partners to strengthen policies, institutions, and capacities to convert these data into actionable insights. Another key achievement of RESAP is the establishment of the regional drought mechanism, which has already supported dozens of countries in gaining access to satellite data, products, tools, and technical expertise. Basically, everything they need to conduct drought monitoring and impact assessment more effectively. And finally, the other very important achievement of RESAP is the adoption of the Asia Pacific Plan of Action on Space Applications for Sustainable Development from 2018 to 2030. For me, it's really a document that represents the collective commitment of the space agencies to mobilize data, resources, and expertise in support of the Sustainable Development Goals. So, under this plan of action, we've been implementing field projects in over a dozen countries. And this is where I get the opportunity to work with really amazing partners like Ismoil and Orbita to develop space solutions from the ground up to support efforts that address various development challenges.
Ismoil, Orbita, how have your countries benefited from this regional space program?
Our project activity in 2022 to 2024, supporting by ESCAP, is identifying slums in Bandung City and Makassar City. So this activity is basically using high resolution of satellite remote sensing data and artificial intelligence to support the SDGs 11 Sustainable Cities and Communities target. We took the initiative to identify slum to support the physical and infrastructure criteria using the remote sensing satellite data and machine learning algorithms.
I think in recent years, we've seen more middle income countries becoming active players in the space economy. What opportunities and challenges does this create for regional cooperation?
The growing participation of middle-income countries in the global space economy is very encouraging trend, and yet it also underscores the importance of international and regional cooperation. For many emerging space nations, it's difficult to sustain large-scale investments or fully utilize space data alone. So collaboration through shared infrastructure, open data access, and joint capacity building is essential to make space activities economically viable and impactful. And Uzbekistan strongly believes in this cooperative approach. As the co-founder of the Space Technology Conference, and having been selected by the International Astronautical Federation to host the IEC in Samarkand in 2028. So we aim to create open platforms where countries can exchange experience, build partnership, and explore joint projects. So through such cooperation, middle-income countries can move from being data users to becoming active contributors to the global space community, and ensuring that the benefits of space are shared more equitable across the region.
So for Indonesia, the opportunity for the regional cooperation, among other, is for disaster risk reduction. Indonesia is highly vulnerable to disasters like floods, earthquake, and volcanic eruption. So by sharing the satellite data and join the early warning system with neighbors, Indonesia can enhance the regional disaster preparedness. Other opportunities for this regional cooperation is the capacity building. Indonesia has decades of experience in satellite remote sensing development and application. Sharing the expertise with neighboring countries could enhance the regional capacity and elevate the ASEAN collective profile in the region.
Of course, space is one of those areas which is evolving very quickly, and now we're hearing things in the news about mega satellite constellations for Earth observation or even AI-driven systems. Are there any future uses or innovations in space applications that you personally are most excited about?
So I'm very excited about the topic of smart agriculture. With space data, farmers can optimize irrigation, save water, and predict plant disease, all of which boost the food security. And adding to all this monitoring system, the AI will definitely help to accelerate the sustainable development in the region. So I think the future is like a merge of space technologies and AI.
The integration of AI with satellite data, known as Geo AI, is really one of the most exciting developments, given that our work at ESCAP focuses on increasing access and transforming space-derived data into actionable insights. I think Geo AI, through the automation of data analysis, lower the barriers to entry for developing countries. It reduces the time and effort required compared to traditional methods, which will help many government agencies who have limited resources and fewer technical staff. Another promising frontier is the rise of open data platforms, which would encourage countries without space programs or large budgets to access high quality data. This can also reduce the cost and barriers to innovation, not just for government agencies, but also for startups, SMEs, and researchers who are keen to develop spin off products and services from satellite data. So I think that in the new space economy, the metrics of success have changed. It's no longer about the number of satellite launches and space missions, although this remain important. But it's really more about making real impacts on the ground. How many disasters have we helped avoid? How many lives have we saved and livelihoods protected because of timely information? So beyond space data, I think we need to continue working on systems, policies, and institutions that will translate the potential of space applications into improvements on the ground.
Before we wrap up, what would you like our listeners to take away from today's conversation?
I will repeat my earlier message. The metrics of success in space applications. It's really no longer just about the technologies, but it's about making real impacts on the ground.
I mentioned that the space is not only about satellites and rockets, so it's about using innovation to improve our daily life.
The space also have to support the blue-green economy initiatives.
And on that note, that's all for today's episode of A Region of Solutions. A big thank you once again to our three guests, Kareff, for sharing all their experiences with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and be part of the solution for our region.